Yeah, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good
Good
morning,
morning,
sir.
sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, because शायद everybody are scolding me why okay Penta sir is taking class on Saturday. That too on second Saturday. That day is today is the holiday. Hmm? Yes. Hmm. Array. Okay. Yes, yes. Actually, I thought intentionally I did half an hour late. As last time some students were late because 8:30 nowadays students are not okay waking up. Yeah, Saransh. Okay, next time onwards, I will give. Okay, okay, it's okay, no problem. Uh, Today I thought because 8:30, I thought, array, today is the second Saturday, students may be taking rest unnecessarily. Why I disturb? I thought to cancel the class. Even I was also thought, array, आज छोड़ दो करके. But as I gave the words, I declared in the class, then I thought to continue to take the class. Yeah, it's okay, no problem. This is intentional. Actually, I was ready on exactly sharp 8 o'clock onwards. So because as it is, see, anyhow, this is the virtual class only. So it's not a big deal. It's not a big problem. I think so because if it is offline, if I am calling you to college at 8:30, then if there was no class, then that is a somewhat disturbance. But as it is virtual, so wherever you are there, from there itself you are attending. So don't worry. Hmm? Okay, as it is already, let's start. Otherwise, Saransh may get angry on me. Uh, uh, yes, very good morning, everyone. Applied chemistry, how many units are there?
Four
Four
units.
Four
units.
units.
Yeah, four
Four
units.
units.
Okay, yesterday class, in the yesterday it was covered the lime soda process especially. So I would like to do the quick revision. Lime soda process. See, lime and soda. The title itself we can understand what is lime and what is soda. That means what is happening in the lime soda process. That means simply lime stands for calcium hydroxide, soda stands for sodium carbonate. Simply these two chemicals are added to the water sample. Then because of these chemicals, the impurities which are present in the water sample, they may react with hardness causing ions and they are converted into insoluble precipitates. This is the principle or this is the chemistry. That means if anybody will ask how we are achieving the softening of water sample by using lime soda process or otherwise what is the chemistry behind the lime soda process, then you are required to say due to addition of calcium hydroxide and soda, the added chemicals are reacting with hardness causing ions and they are converting into precipitates. So once as they are converted into precipitates or sludge, the sludge may be removed. Then the remaining water may pass through the filter, any sand filter. The remaining water is then that obtained water is the purified water. Now, the next one is yes, some of the chemical reactions are there here. There are two types of lime soda processes: cold lime soda process, hot lime soda process. Cold lime soda process, normally the lime and soda are added at room temperature. Hot lime soda process, the lime and soda are added at elevated temperature. Yes, at high temperature, at high elevated temperatures, we are achieving the softening of water. at superior level. So hence, because there are some reasons are there, because viscosity or density of the water may be decreased, at elevated temperature the chemical reactions are accelerated. So these type of and the hardness is very less. So these are the some of the advantages. And then oxygen, dissolved gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide is going to be escaped out. Now these are the some of the advantages. We have to remember for the calculations. There are in some numericals may be given in your examination. Lime and soda, based on the lime and soda, you have to remember for any impurities there, for that particular impurity how many moles of lime and soda are required. That means, say for example, for temporary hardness, say for example for calcium bicarbonate, 1 mole of lime is required. Magnesium bicarbonate, 2 moles of lime is required. Calcium permanent hardness, only soda is required. Magnesium permanent hardness, lime and soda is required. Then acidic substances, L plus S is required. Heavy metals like aluminum, ferrous, L plus S is required. Carbon dioxide, lime is required. H2S, lime is required. So these type of things you are required to remember. And one generalized formula was given. What is the generalized formula for the lime? Say for example, lime is equals to 76 by 100 into 74 by 100 into
74.
74 by 100 into that temporary hardness, then permanent hardness, then heavy metals, then H plus ions, and then all are converted in equivalents of calcium carbonate. Then that whole should be multiplied with volume of water, then purity factor. Here, what you have to remember, please remember that all the hardness causing ions strength should be converted in equivalents of calcium carbonate. Then the based on the numerical, what data was given, or that means which ions are given in the numerical. So whether that ions are required lime or soda, you identify. Then if lime is required, then put those things in the lime formula. That means just to simplify the formula. So for example, in the one numerical was there like this: calculate the requirement of lime and soda for the softening of water, 20,000 liters of water, which is having the following impurities. That question, that the following impurity is, let us assume that calcium bicarbonate was given 50 ppm. Single calcium bicarbonate ion was given. Then, as we know, based on the stoichiometric reaction, calcium bicarbonate is only required 1 mole of lime. Soda is not required. So don't calculate the soda. You calculate only lime. For lime, what is the equation? 74 by 100 into calcium bicarbonate in equivalence of calcium carbonate, bracket close, into volume of water, over. This is the simplified equation. Yesterday I shown the generalized equation, but based on the data you have to simplify the equation. Then you convert that in equivalence of calcium carbonate. Then that means strength of hardness producing substance into multiplication factor, 50 into 100 by molecular weight. Then you convert it. That value you substitute in the equation. Then you simplify that, you would be getting the answer. This is the lime requirement. If one, okay, soda requirement also same. So for example, the calculate the requirement of soda for the volume of 50,000 liters of water, which is having the calcium chloride as hardness causing ion. So calcium chloride, that is solely required only soda. Calcium chloride plus sodium carbonate is going to produce the calcium carbonate plus sodium chloride. 1 mole of soda is required. Then how you are required to simplify the formula? Soda is equals to 106 by 100 into calcium chloride in equivalence of calcium carbonate, bracket close, into volume of water 50,000. If at all any purity factor was given, then simply you multiply that 100 by that how much purity factor was given, that value you put it. If it is 90 percentage, then put 100 by 90. Remember this 100 by 90, like multiplication factor. In the multiplication factor also 100 by that molecular weight of that compound. So please remember, don't miss it. Now, then next, this is about the lime soda process. Definitely, some lime soda numericals may be given in your examination. You go through it. Now our next topic is, okay, one small topic was left, that is the softening of water. What is the softening of water? Remove the two types are there. First one is external methods, then second one is internal methods. The external methods was completed, three methods were completed, that lime soda process, ion exchange method, then geolite process. These three are over. Now next one is internal treatment. What are the internal treatment? Why it is required? Yes, internal treatment means inside the boiler we are adding some chemicals. See what happened after completing, after going through all these methods, like either geolite process or ion exchange method or lime soda process, still the water may be having some impurities. Small suspended particles or fine particles may be there, and that water may be feeded into boiler. Then after that, during the conversion of that water into steam, the water gets concentrated. When water gets concentrated, then if any fine particles are there, those fine particles may settle down as a suspended particles. That means as the concentration is increased, concentration is, that means the water is evaporated. Then what happen? If any fine particles are there, they may come out from the water sample as a precipitates. So that time what we have to do, one better option is blow down operation. Array, sorry, blow down operation. What is blow down operation? Partial removal of concentrated water, or otherwise, if if the precipitates are very minor, then you can add some chemicals inside the boiler. So because of that, what happen? Those ions are converted into soluble form. Okay, consists of chemicals directly to water boilers for removing dangerous cane forming salts which were not completely removed in the external treatment. Okay, this is mainly used as corrosive treatment to remove slight residual hardness and sometimes to remove corrosive tendencies in water. Okay, that we are going to discuss. Even, okay, what are the chemicals? Carbonate conditioning, phosphate conditioning, colloidal conditioning, Colgall conditioning. These are the some of the methods. Now, see here, in the carbonate conditioning, what is happening? Uh, that everybody knows that for salt to get precipitated, the ions concentration. Some story was given here. This much is not required. Simply, exactly what is happening, or what, okay, what we have to do. Okay. See, in the carbonate conditioning, see, don't read much about internal treatment. Simply, you have to remember, in the internal treatment, the first one is carbonate conditioning. Then second one is colloidal conditioning. It is phosphate conditioning. Then after that, next one is colloidal conditioning. The next one is Kalgan conditioning. Uh, okay, Kalgan conditioning. Here what happened? If I share this, then movement of the slides are very difficult. They are not moving at all. Huh. See here what is happening. In the carbonate conditioning, simply we are adding some amount of calcium carbonate in the water sample. So because of that, what happened? These precipitates may act as a nucleus, and that may drag some other fine particles to make it bigger precipitate, so that after some time all are settled down at the bottom of that boiler. Then with the help of blow down operation, you can remove the all the precipitates, but that's it. Okay, simply you go through it, you can understand, not required to, okay, spend much time. Now, next one is, what is the phosphate conditioning? Okay, simply see here also in the phosphate conditioning we are adding sodium phosphate. What is the sodium phosphate? What is the formula of sodium phosphate? Na3PO4. So because of that sodium phosphate, what happened? The metals which are present in the water sample may react with that sodium phosphate and they are converting into corresponding metal phosphates. Bas over. That corresponding metal phosphates are precipitates. So once they are converted into precipitates, then you can remove all the precipitates by using blowdown operation. Then that water may be okay. Again, you can use further. That means the partial precipitates may be removed, then remaining water may be continued for the generation of steam. This is the phosphate conditioning. Now, next one is colloidal conditioning. Yes, in the colloidal conditioning, what is happening? Simply to the water sample, they're going to add some glue or otherwise some agar-agar substances. Glue, that means oily type substances they are going to add. Oily type substances means that they are not exactly the oils, but glue type substances may be added. Or otherwise, the inner walls of the boiler tube may be coated with glue type substances. Why it is coated with glue type substances? Yes, what happened? Due to high temperature, if any sludges are there in the boiler tube, the sludges may become scales. That means the soft, loose, slimy precipitates may strongly adhering to the inner boiler tube at high temperature. So because of that, what happened? But due to addition of this glue or this gel type of substances, the precipitates may not strongly adhering to the inner walls of the boiler tube. So that what happened? There is no formation of the scales. Simply, again, the precipitates may be there in the water sample. They may removed by using blowdown operation. This is about colloidal conditioning. Now, next one is Calgon conditioning. Sodium hexametaphosphate is called as Calgon. The chemical name of Calgon is sodium hexametaphosphate. That is known as Calgon. So this process is called as Calgon conditioning. That means simply we are adding inside the boiler the Calgon chemical. See here what happened, okay, that this is also that prevents the formation of scale and as well as formation of sludge. How? Because that is converted into some soluble metal complexes. Here it is reverse. What is happening? Because of addition of the calgon, that is converted into corresponding metal complexes. But here, these metal complexes are not precipitates. They are in the form of soluble nature. So that is going to prevent the formation of scale and as well as formation of sludge. So these are the some of the conditioning of some of the internal methods. So very simple. Okay, simply you go through it. Okay, most of the time, sometimes we may ask at the time of your Viva's examination, what is the Calgon formula or how it is achieving the achieving the removal of hardness causing ions. Like that, one or two questions we may ask. What is colloidal conditioning? What is phosphate conditioning? What is carbonate conditioning? What is the chemical formula of phosphate conditioning? What is happening? What are the metal phosphates? Like this, some questions we may ask in your examination. You have to remember what are the internal treatments. There are four. See, number of internal treatments are there, but out of that, these four are something very very important. So those things were kept here in your curriculum. So with this, I am winding up the unit 1. So once again, what is the conclusion of unit 1? The conclusion of unit 1 is I'm going to share this PPT. Don't worry. For internal treatment, don't get tense. Okay, normally most of the times we are not going to ask questions from the internal treatment, but you should remember what is the title, the heading itself you can understand. Carbonate conditioning, we are adding some carbonate. Phosphate conditioning, we are adding some phosphates. Sodium phosphate, we are adding. Colloidal conditioning, some glue type of substances we are adding inside the boiler tube. Calgon conditioning, the sodium hexametaphosphate, that is called as calgon, that we are adding. So that is converted into metal, metal hexaphosphates. So that metal phosphates are soluble in nature, hence that is avoiding the formation of the sludge and scale. So this is about the internal treatment. So now in the conclusion, that in the applied chemistry, the technology of water. The first one is domestic water treatment. The domestic water treatment and as well as breakpoint chlorination. The topic was covered by Narman Madam. That removal of suspended particles. The two methods are there: removal of suspended particles, removal of microorganisms. In the removal of suspended particles, screening, sedimentation, coagulation, sedimentation along with coagulation, filtration, removal of microorganisms. The process of destroying the microorganisms by using chemicals are called as disinfection. The chemicals are disinfectants. The simple boiling by addition of chlorine, chloramines, bleaching powder, calcium oxychloride. Then after that, by irradiation with ultraviolet radiation, reaction with ozone. All these are okay. Disinfectants. Then after that, breakpoint chlorination is there. One graph is there. With the help of that graph, we can able to identify how much amount of chlorine is required for the removal of all the microorganisms. Then after that, what is hardness and its determination, what is alkalinity and its determination. Then boiler troubles, what are the boiler troubles? Large scale priming, foaming, carryover, corrosion, caustic and brittlement. The next one is softening of water. In the softening of water, there are two methods are there: external methods, internal methods. In the external methods, geolite process, the hydrated sodium aluminum silicates are called as geolites. In the geolites, sodium ions are responsible for the exchange of hardness causing cations. Only cations are only removed, anions are not removed. That is one of the drawback. So then the ion exchange method, two resin beds are there: cation resin bed, anion resin bed. When the water is passing through the cation resin bed, all the types of cations are exchanged with H plus ions. When water is passing through the anion resin bed, all types of anions are exchanged with anion resin bed. Then the resultant water is having the H plus and OH minus ions, hence it is called as ions free. So it is deionization method or demineralization method. No minerals, no ions, nothing else. Only water. The next one is lime soda process. Here we are adding only lime and soda to the water sample. Lime, the chemical formula of lime is calcium hydroxide, soda is sodium carbonate, Na2CO3. Then numericals are there, the equations are there, formulas are there. Then after that, internal treatments. What are the internal treatments? That carbonate conditioning, phosphate conditioning, colgan conditioning, colloidal conditioning. There are four types of internal treatments are there. So this is about the technology of water. So with this, I am winding up. Now I am switching over to second unit. Is it okay? Is it clear? First unit, technology of water. Do you have any doubt?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No,
Okay.
sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Yeah. See, next unit is fuels, combustion, and cement. In the fuels and combustion and cement, see in the fuels portion, that what is the classification, what is the calorific value, types, determination by bomb kilometer, Gillan's formula, analysis of coal, approximate ultimate analysis, flue gas analysis and its significance, numericals, carbonization of coal, what are the manufacture of metallurgical coke by Otto Hoffman, byproduct oven combustion calculations. Then after that, cement is there. Characteristic of the constituent compounds of cement. What are the properties of cement? That is setting and hardening. Then after that, some of the additives of cement are there. So this is about the second unit, fuels and combustion. See, normally, what is a fuel? What are the different types of fuels? This introduction part, what are the solid fuels? What are the liquid fuels, gaseous fuels? This part I am skipping here. Okay, simply you go through it. See, normally what is the fuel? Fuel means, okay, any combustible substance. That means the substance which is going to liberate huge amount of heat during combustion reaction. That is called as fuel. Okay, what are the different fuels? Primary fuels, secondary fuels. What are the solid fuels, liquid fuels, gaseous fuels? Okay, you go through what are the examples. This one or two slides, you go through it. So directly I'm okay starting. What is calorific value? See, the calorific value, the definition is the total quantity of heat liberated from the combustion of unit mass of the fuel in air in presence of oxygen. Once again, what is the calorific value? See, what is fuel? It is a combustible substance. Then that combustible substance, obviously, in presence of oxygen during the burning or during the combustion reaction, that is going to liberate some amount of heat. So how much amount of heat is liberated during the burning of known amount of sample? always unit mass of the sample or known amount of sample. So due to burning of known amount of sample, how much amount of heat is liberated, that heat is called as calorific value. Yes, here the different calorific value units are there, calorie or otherwise kilocalorie. These are some of the units. Then okay, the uh, okay, some other units are there. Just you go through it. These are the some introduction. Okay, now see some directly I'm switching over to main portion, or otherwise okay some introduction portion only it will take 1 hour or 2 hours. So I'm switching over to main portion. See here, gross or net calorific value. What is gross and what is net calorific value? See, I would like to give one example. First of all, I would like to give the net calorific value. Okay, net calorific value. What is the net calorific value, or otherwise first of all what is the gross calorific value, or otherwise high calorific value? See here what happened when one known amount of fuel is burnt, or otherwise when one known amount of fuel is okay during the combustion process, that is going to liberate some amount of heat. But here the combustion reaction is the spontaneous reaction. Spontaneous means suddenly the fuel may burn, and that is going to liberate huge amount of heat. That liberated heat, what happened? Even though the combustion reaction is conducted in one closed vessel, that what is the apparatus? I will show that the bomb calorimeter. But sometimes that so let us assume that in the fuel, what are the main composition of fuel? Sometimes hydrogen may be there, oxygen may be there, nitrogen may be there, sulfur is there, like this. If hydrogen is there, yes, the fuel may be having the these type of elements. The hydrogen may be there. That hydrogen may react with oxygen, and that is converted into H2O. That means that is nothing but steam, because high amount of temperature is liberated. So water is in the form of steam. So that steam may evaporated within fraction of seconds. The steam may evaporated. So, while calculating the gross calorific value, you have to consider how much amount of heat is escape out. That temperature also you have to include it. Okay. See, or otherwise, see here it was written this much only you remember right now. Okay. Then later, okay, we will discuss more. Once again, what is the gross calorific value? Normally, what is the calorific value? The calorific value is nothing but total amount of heat is liberated when the known amount of fuel sample is burnt completely. But here, gross calorific value means you have to include all types of okay heat sources. That means let okay just here I am giving one example. One example, if hydrogen is there, that hydrogen may escape out in the that may during the combustion reaction, that may react with oxygen, and that may convert into steam. That steam may escape out when it is when as the steam is escape out, that is going, that is taking some amount of heat value. So while calculating the calorific value, you may be okay getting some lesser calorific value, because as the steam has took some amount of heat, so you have to consider that. Then only you would be getting the gross calorific value. Now, net calorific value. What is the net calorific value? Same here. When one known amount of fuel sample is burnt completely, then that some amount of heat is liberated. That heat is okay. It is called as net calorific value. But here, okay, the combustion products are allowed to escape. Allowed to escape means yes, sometimes if combustion gases may be evolved, or otherwise hydrogen gas may evolve during the combustion reaction, or otherwise oxygen gas may evolve. So these are the gases. So these gases may escape out from the bomb calorimeter, from the okay closed vessel. Also, these gases may escape out. So after escaping out, the net heat produced during the combustion of the known amount of sample is called as net calorific value. So here, normally, what is the net calorific value is equals to gross calorific value minus latent heat of condensation of water vapor. That means, okay, generally the steam is escape out, okay, that is going to take some huge amount of heat. So hence here they were practically calculated and that equations were given. This is all our introduction. Aris, what Sari is saying, we are not understanding. Don't think, don't worry. These all are introduction. Now, till now, I haven't started the core subject. These are the introduction. Simply you go through it, you can understand. Okay, now I am switching over to another topic. Okay, this is also not required. Okay, this is not required. No, no, this part also. Huh. Okay, this part after, okay, the Blanc formula that we will discuss after completion of this determination of calorific value. Okay, now the main topic here I'm going to start here. Our first heading is determination of calorific value by using bomb calorimeter. Normally the calorific value can be determined by using bomb calorimeter. Calorific value can be determined by using bomb calorimeter. What is bomb calorimeter? Bomb calorimeter is one apparatus. See, here is the apparatus was given. Here is the apparatus. Now, see here, first of all, okay, just let us discuss this apparatus. What is that apparatus? See, normally for solid fuel or otherwise liquid fuel. See, please remember, either solid or liquid fuels calorific value can be determined by using bomb calorimeter. For gases, fuels, bomb calorimeter is not suitable. Some other calorimeters are there. So please keep in your mind. This is for information only. So today's our main topic in the fuels portion. Now I am going to start the determination of calorific value by using bomb calorimeter. What is bomb calorimeter? It is one apparatus. It is one equipment. With the help of that, we are going to determine the calorific value of the unknown sample, unknown solid sample or unknown liquid sample. Okay. Here, what is the main principle involved in this? In the bomb calorimeter, the principle is very simple. What is the principle? Here it was written, a known mass of the fuel is burnt and quantity of heat produced is absorbed in water and that is measured. The now the okay. See here, what is the main formula, or otherwise, what is the main principle involved in this? Simply, you keep one sample inside the bomb calorimeter, one known amount of mass sample, solid sample, you keep it inside the bomb calorimeter. Then you ignite that sample, that it starts burning. Then suddenly, that is going to liberate huge amount of heat. Then in that equipment, we are keeping some water. Then as huge amount of heat is liberated, that heat may be absorbed by the water because water is there. Obviously, that is going to absorb the temperature. Then, okay, how much in that 1 kilo, one thermometer is there, which is kept in the water. So, what is the initial temperature? What is the final temperature? With that, we are going to determine the calorific value. That means how much amount of heat is liberated. This is the main principle. Over. Okay, now what is the apparatus? The apparatus is one steel vessel called the bomb. It is covered with a gas tight cover having three valves. One for oxygen, okay. Electrical wire, platinum wire, okay. Silica crucible is kept inside the apparatus. Fuel is taken. A fuse wire, okay. Bomb is placed, okay. Air jacket, okay. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Now, that means here he explained all the construction of the apparatus. This is the bomb calorimeter. Then what is the construction of the bomb calorimeter? Here he explained in the previous slide. Now I am explaining here. See, the thick one is there here. This is the one stainless cylindrical chamber is there. This chamber is called as bomb, and this bomb is covered with one lid. Lid means one cover. that is tightly screwed cover is attached with bomb. Okay, this center, that means that is made up of stainless steel. Now, this bomb is kept inside the copper calorimeter. What is calorimeter? This is one container, calorimeter container. Okay, or otherwise simply you can assume, okay, in this container, okay, one bomb is kept inside of this, and this is made up of copper. That copper calorimeter is having the water. Once again here, okay, the stainless cylindrical chamber which is having one tightly screwed lid, that means cover, so that is kept inside the bomb calorimeter, that inside the copper calorimeter, that copper calorimeter is having the water. Here everywhere water is there. So it is tightly screwed because the water should not enter inside this bomb. This is bomb. This container is called as bomb. This bomb is kept inside the copper calorimeter. The copper calorimeter is having the water. And at the same time, this copper calorimeter is kept in another container, that is the which is having the air jacket. That means overall, okay, here one container is there. Then after that, inside that container, one copper calorimeter is, okay, kept inside, okay, to maintain the air jacket, because here air is filled. Then after that, okay, in this copper calorimeter one bomb is kept. Then where in the copper calorimeter water is filled, tightly screwed bomb is kept in the copper calorimeter where water is there. And at the same time, this copper calorimeter where the water is there, right hand side one mechanically operated stirrer is there, left hand side one Beckman's thermometer is there. Please remember. Now it's okay. And at the same time, the bomb is provided with two electrodes. Here, this is one electrode, and here also, this is also one electrode. And these two electrodes are connected with one battery. Please remember. Okay, that means the bomb is provided. See, the copper calorimeter is provided with two apparatus. What are those? One is Beckman's thermometer, another one is mechanically operated stirrer. Similarly, the bomb is also provided with two electrodes. The two electrodes are connected with battery. And at the same time, one oxygen inlet is there. See here, this valve is nothing but oxygen inlet. Okay, here, okay, during the combustion reaction, we are pumping the some amount of oxygen for the ignition of the chemical reaction, or otherwise to burning of the fuel. Then see here, this is the fuse wire. That means small copper wire may be there. That copper wire is attached to these two electrodes, and then at the center that is attached with sample. That sample means here one crucible is there. See here one, okay, one wire gauge is there. That wire gauge is attached with this electrode. So that wire gauge is acting as a base. So in that wire gauge, simply you are keeping the sample in the silica crucible, or otherwise on any, okay, box. Then that sample is directly connected with fuse wire. Okay, here if let us assume that here one small container is there. Inside of that we are keeping the solid fuel, but that solid fuel is connected with this fuse wire. This is very very important, or otherwise the combustion reaction may not happen. The fuse wire which is connected with electrodes, that should have the connection with sample. So that means here we have to knot the sample with fuse wire with the help of thread. Sometimes they are using thread, cotton thread, because okay, they should have some connection. Now, so almost all the parts have been explained here. What is here? See here, a steel vessel called bomb. It is covered with gas tight cover having three volutes. Okay, one for oxygen inlet, second for pressure gauge, and third for release of pressure. Okay, two electrical leads made up of platinum are fixed in cover electrodes. Then silica crucible is kept inside the apparatus in which weighed quantity of fuel is taken. In the wire gauge, one silica crucible is there, inside some known amount of sample is there. Then platinum is dipped in the fuel taken in the crucible and its end are connected to battery outside through a key. Okay. The bomb is placed in the copper calorimeter containing known quantity of water. Then copper calorimeter is surrounded by an air jacket which is further enclosed in a vessel containing water. Okay. One electric stirrer for stirring the water is provided in the calorimeter. Calorimeter also contains one accurate thermometer, that is the Beckman's thermometer, to note down the temperature. This is about the construction of the bomb calorimeter. Very simple, one stainless cylindrical chamber tightly screwed with one lid that is kept in copper calorimeter where it is having water. That copper calorimeter is kept in one air jacket, and at the same time outside of that air jacket, that adjacent to air jacket also one water jacket is there. So these are the the containers. Then the whole apparatus is tightly screwed with lid. Okay, this is totally sealed. And at the same time, the inside the bomb is provided with two electrodes, the platinum electrodes, and then these two electrodes are connected with one battery. And this bomb is also having one one
Sir, you are not audible.
सर लेट करिए क्या भाई?
लग तो रहा है।
हाँ
लगता तो है चलेगा।
हाँ भाई
राकेश पूछ भाई आएंगे कि नहीं वो?
अटेंडेंस ले ले भाई जल्दी।